Hey, good morning. I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack. And it's Friday, May 30th. Friday, May 30th. Looking a little slightly overcast out the studio window here in beautiful Plymouth. I took the whole week off from politics, and boy, do I feel great. I feel great. It was wonderful to take the week off from politics, but I thought I'd squeeze in a live stream this morning because so much is happening. I felt if I didn't, I'd be behind the curve. And it was great to have the Monday holiday. Memorial Day, of course, very, very important. But I missed you, and I missed doing the live stream. So back today, we have some important news coming out. First off, let me just check my notes, make sure I get these bullet points for you. We have an endorsement in the governor's race, which we're going to cover as our top story. We have poll numbers out about Maura Healey. Does she want to meet with Tom Homan or not? Some intrigue on that. And maybe another gubernatorial candidate out there in the wind, possibly. Plus, the mayor of Lawrence, Mr. DePina, has some interesting comments about ICE in his city. Let's cut first to breaking news this morning about an endorsement in the gubernatorial campaign. So Michael Keneally is picking up the endorsement of John Featherston. John Featherston, you've probably heard of him or seen him, may have even seen him on Fox or something like that, or some type of network television or local television. He used to run a shelter for the Healey administration. And as soon as he was able, he actually told the backstory about running the shelter for the Healey administration. And this morning, he's endorsing Michael Keneally. Let's cut to the video here that looks like John filmed in his kitchen or somebody's kitchen. And we'll pick it up at about the 30-second mark. Since I already gave you the backstory, let's hear from John directly, so to speak. This was just posted an hour ago this morning. Let's cut to John and his endorsement. Go ahead, John.
I witnessed criminal acts with my own eyes. I did everything I could to report them, first to the Healey administration and then to the public. And what did the governor do? Nothing. Mike Keneally understands the gravity of this crisis. In fact, he warned Maura Healey during the transition in 2022 about the storm that was coming. Just like my own warnings, his were ignored too. But unlike the governor, Mike didn't walk away. He stood up. Over the years, I've gotten to know Mike through his leadership as finance chair and legislative support fund chair of the Mass GOP. I've seen firsthand his integrity, his discipline, and his deep commitment to conservative common sense values. He's a fiscal watchdog, a public servant, and a real leader, ready to fix what's broken in Massachusetts. If we want to defeat Maura Healey in 2026, Mike Keneally is the only candidate that can get it done and actually govern on day one. That's why, after serious thought and reflection, I'm endorsing him in the Republican primary.
All right, there is your endorsement right there. I don't want to really nitpick a couple of criticisms here. Last week, we had Mike Keneally saying that, hey, I told Maura Healey in a meeting about the migrant crisis that was cresting. I told her and she didn't do anything. Now, actually, I don't dispute that he told her because, who's to say, really? And she didn't do anything because she wanted the invasion. Let's be perfectly clear. The Biden administration and Healey and all the Democrats, they wanted the invasion. It was a planned invasion. They wanted it. They sponsored it. They encouraged it. It was their stated policy. However, I do just take a little bit of an exception to the fact that if Michael Keneally warned her face to face in this famous transition meeting of late 2022, then if it was such an important thing, did he write a memo to memorialize this warning? If it was so important to him, is there any paper trail? That's my only question. My other question is I'm still not sold on Mr. Keneally as a conservative, as Mr. Featherston mentions. Mr. Keneally didn't vote for, quote, anybody in the 2024 presidential election. He blanked the presidential race. Didn't vote for Harris, didn't vote for Trump, didn't vote for either of those two, blanked it. So I don't really, I can't get over that. Can't get over that. That when your choice between Trump and Harris and you don't cast a vote at all, I got problems with. I got problems with it. I cannot get over that at all. I just can't. But big headline in the Herald today: former Massachusetts shelter director endorses Republican Mike Keneally for governor. This is going to be a good news day for Michael Keneally. Going to be a good news day for Michael Keneally. I did notice that last night. Good for Mr. Featherston. He received an award. There was a big shindig, apparently. I must have missed my invitation. There was a big shindig, apparently, with former Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito in downtown Boston. And Mr. Featherston, congratulations, received the Lincoln Reagan Award from MassGov Archive. I'm not even sure what that is. Oh, it's an archive of Charlie Baker's account. Okay, I get it. I don't think I've seen it notated in that format before. So Charlie Baker gave him an award last night at the big GOP shindig. And good for you. Congratulations, John. Well deserved. It's clear, if you're not tracking here, that we have two declared candidates. One is Michael Keneally, and the other one is Brian Shortsleeve. Those are the only two declared candidates at this point. And there is the, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Minogue, something like that. He's the really rich biotech guy, if I'm not mistaken, and he's considering the race. We have a little bit of intrigue with State Senator Bruce Tarr, where he didn't really answer the question directly the other day if he's going to be running for governor in 2020. He didn't deny it. He said, never say never. And I have this kind of memory in my mind that Bruce Tarr, or was it Richard Chassé? I think it was Tarr. I think it was Tarr that was listed on the Greater New Bedford Republican Club invitation list about a month or something ago. Am I wrong about that? I think it was Tarr. I think it raised an eyebrow with a number of people. Like, why would Tarr be going into Bedford Republican unless he's considering a statewide run? So maybe he is considering a statewide run. And a couple of days after that Herald interview in the hallway, Tarr comes out with this story in the Herald. Also, Maura Healey's hiring freeze begs the question of who should follow suit, says Bruce Tarr. In other words, he wants to extend the hiring freeze to other places. So it seems as if Tarr might be kind of shaking the tree a little bit. It's really hard to say at this point. Really hard to say. I would say also in regards to Shortsleeve, he's not exactly hitting the cover off the ball, right? He's not exactly hitting the cover off the ball. And here we have Keneally with this endorsement. And like, I don't even really think I know. And I pay attention, obviously. I don't really think I know much about Brian Shortsleeve. I know he's a Marine. That part I got, but I don't really think I know much about him or him as a person. And I would say the same thing about actually Michael Keneally, except the fact that I do know Michael Keneally, but I don't think the general public knows Michael Keneally because one of the strategic problems, I think, with both of those campaigns is the fact that they don't create, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, they don't create a lot of video. And on any given week, not this past week, but on most any other week of this year, I create more video than either of those campaigns. And I'm just one guy in the third floor studio of my house here, right? But I'm on any given week, I create more video than a gubernatorial campaign. How is that possible? How is that possible? Right? And I don't, because they're not creating enough video content, I don't feel like they're letting people know them the way they should be letting people know them. Every one of those written statements that Short Sleeve keeps on posting on X, stop posting written statements. No one's reading them. Not even I'm reading them. Post the video. Post the video. I was glad to see that Mr. Featherston did his endorsement by video, which he's very good with video. So good on Mr. Featherston for making the endorsement by video. That's the way it should be done. I want to show you this guy. He's a commie, but he's really good at video. He's running for mayor of New York. He's a communist. Democratic socialist, which basically means he's a communist. But he's really good at video. Let me scroll down here. And okay, so this is a highly produced video. We won't use that as an example. But here he is last night outside Madison Square Garden, where the Knicks beat the Pacers. This is theoretically a campaign video. This is him last night outside of the Garden, Madison Square Garden.
Yo, Pacers, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for absolutely nothing. Yo.
All right, so that's the clip. That's the whole clip. And I mean, he's really, this guy Zoran, is that how you say it? He is really good. He is really good on video. And I just want to scroll down. He has a TV ad that is smoking good.
And I'm running for mayor to freeze the rent for.
I don't expect this from the Republican campaigns at this point, but just to give you a flavor of it.
I'm Assemblyman Zahran Mamdani, and I'm running for mayor to freeze the rent for every rent-stabilized tenant.
Wait, you're gonna freeze my rent?
Yes.
Did I hear rent freeze?
Yes, this guy's gonna freeze the rent.
No hike?
None.
This guy's gonna freeze the rent.
It's true. As your next mayor, I will freeze your rent.
All right, so you get the idea. It's amazing how much money the communists have to produce slick commercials, isn't it? Funny how that works out. But, if you want to see somebody that's really using video effectively, even if you might not particularly agree with them, it would be that guy running for mayor of New York. Let's take a look at the poll numbers, Bay State poll numbers out of University of New Hampshire. It's nice that they have the Transparency Initiative logo to the upper right-hand side. I'm not going to dissect the positive or negative methodology. We're not going to get into the methodology on this, but I just want to show a couple of these charts, and we're just going to say, we'll stipulate for argument's sake that everything here is 100% accurate. I don't want to stipulate that, but just for today's video, we'll say, obviously, Trump, not very popular in Massachusetts. That's pretty easy. Handling the economy, and foreign policy. People hate Trump in Massachusetts. It's pretty clear. It's basically 60 to 35-ish. Question about the plane. Who cares about the plane? Ukraine. I don't think that doesn't affect the gubernatorial campaign. Okay, here we are here. This is the one I want to know. Approval of Governor Healey's job performance. Basically, when you combine all the approved numbers and you compare them to all the disapproved numbers, it's 49-45, according to this New Hampshire poll, which, again, we'll stipulate today for the purpose of this video, doesn't have any methodology problems. Great to have you here today, by the way. Thanks so much for joining us. Good morning. So those aren't great numbers. Most important problem facing Massachusetts. Housing, 21%. And then after that, immigration, 12%, and cost of living. And I think housing and cost of living are almost the same issue. So really, if you combine cost of living and housing together, that's 33%, right? That's 33% with immigration coming in a strong second at 12%. Then you have left-wing politicians at 9%. Government corrupt, national issues, jobs, economy, which is also kind of so. Right-wing politicians 5%, taxes 4%, and everything else is a distant memory here. In other words, all the other issues that are on this spreadsheet here, or this graph or chart or whatever the hell it is, all have to be discussed with. And Maura Healey has been doing a really good job at this, actually contextualizing every discussion relative to the word cost. So if you haven't been following Maura Healey's phraseology over the last couple of months, she always turning the conversation back to the cost of living. Everything is about cost reduction, cost of living. She turns every conversation back to that because she's had this type of polling probably at least since January, if not before. She knows exactly what are on people's minds here in Massachusetts. Let's take a look at wrong button. Sorry about that. Let's take a look at this chart here. Healey deserves re-election as governor. Of course, the Republicans don't believe that. Independents. She's upside down with the independents. This is concerning for Governor Healey. She's what is that? Minus 15 on independents. Wow, that's not a good number. That is not a good number. And of course, Democrats feel that she's deserving of re-election, but 29% don't know and have no opinion. That's peculiar. You would think that she would have all the Democrat. When I'm looking at the Democrat columns here, which are 60% believe she deserves to be reelected, 11% says no, and 29% say don't know. My gut feeling tells me that the 29%, they're not Republican voters. They are voters who believe that Healey's not far left enough, in my interpretation. The poll doesn't say that. It's just my gut feeling. So, that is actually something that we've talked about here on this show for quite some time. Wouldn't it be glorious if Maura Healey had a legitimate left opponent in the primary? I know that Markey now has some guy, Alex, somebody running against him. Wouldn't it be awesome if Healey actually had a legitimate primary opponent? That would be fantastic. Overall, she is also underwater on this by minus 3%. Now, I saw somebody from the Keneally campaign yesterday, Mr. Wynn, is that how you say his name? He was on X, and he said that this poll confirmed a poll that they released, and it shows that Michael Keneally is the only person to be able to beat Maura Healey. I'm sorry, but this poll does not even mention Mr. Keneally. And you can't beat somebody with nobody, right? So this poll doesn't even mention Mr. Keneally at all. So yeah, I don't see that that this buttresses Mr. Keneally as the best candidate against Maura, but it does show a couple of cracks in the potential Healey re-election effort. Quickly, we'll look at Markey's numbers. As you can imagine, none of the Republicans want Markey. Markey getting smoked even worse. Wow, that's basically 2-1 of the independents who had an opinion. 52% believe that Markey does not deserve to be reelected. amongst independents. 26% thought he did, and 22% had no opinion. Democrats are also weaker on Markey than they were on Healey by about 6 points. And overall, Markey has a 43 to 30. He's minus 10 on the overall. But again, you can only run these numbers. The changes when you have a horse race, right? When you have Healey versus Keneally or Healey versus short sleeve, then you're going to get a completely different number. You're going to have Markey versus Deaton or whatever it's going to be. You're going when you have an actual, A or B choice, you're probably going to see some change in these numbers. But if you're running for governor this year, it seems as if, when I think we've sensed this, Moore is in some mild trouble. I remember a poll earlier this year or late last year where I remember even I got a picture of Moore with wearing a pair of sunglasses because the poll looked so good for her. It was like, my future's so bright. I got to wear shades. I'm pretty sure that's what I tweeted out. And so she's been taking a beating over the last couple of months, deservedly so. And it seems as if that is starting to kind of take effect. Markey's numbers on the age question, he would be 80. He'd be 80 on election day, if I'm not mistaken. And he's taking a beating on the age thing. He's actually paying the price for Biden, right? Every bad story about Biden affects Markey, which is like, how old is Trump? Trump is almost the same. They're all the same, right? But nobody's in good shape as Mick Jagger, right? Of course, right? Or for that matter, even Keith Richards, right? I got Keith's book. I'm a big Keith Richards fan. So Markey is taking a beating. You got to think that with these type of poll numbers, and there's probably a lot of polls out there that are not public, that are done for potential candidates, Aachen, Kloss, like him, right? That Markey might have a legitimate candidate come against him. But remember, Markey beat a Kennedy. He beat a Kennedy in a primary. So you don't want to think that Markey's going to be a pushover, even at 80, because he's not going to be. He's made a career of being underestimated. So tread lightly. All right, the Trump administration yesterday, I've been waiting for this. As a result of executive order, I'm surprised it actually didn't take that long at all. They really put the pedal to the metal here on this. Executive Order 14287 has basically defined a number of sanctuary cities and jurisdictions, we'll call them, throughout the United States. The below list created to identify sanctuary jurisdictions, which are determined by factors like compliance with federal law enforcement, information restrictions, and legal protections for illegals. Understand what this executive order is all about. This is all about setting an administrative ramp, a guideline, a factual basis, whatever you want to call it, for be able to punish these jurisdictions for not cooperating, basically. That's what it's the pretext for discipline. It's hey, we have determined you to be a sanctuary in conflict with federal law, and now if you want to do that, okay, we can't stop you from that, Somerville, but we also don't have to help you as much or at all as we previously were. So this is basically a construct for that. And if we scroll down here to Massachusetts, the entire state of Massachusetts, if there ever was a question of whether or not Massachusetts was a sanctuary state, which Maura Healey doesn't even seem to know what that terminology means. Massachusetts has now been declared a sanctuary state by the federal government. The federal government also listed all the counties. I'm pretty sure that's all the counties. I don't know why they listed the counties. Counties aren't really that powerful here in Massachusetts, as you know, unlike other places. So let's just skip the county list. And these, what is that, about a dozen cities or something? I'm not sure why Natick isn't on this, because wasn't there a big controversy in Natick, and didn't they adopt, although they tried to skirt the wording, right? But I'm pretty sure they adopted a policy which is effectively a sanctuary policy in Natick as well. So Amherst, Boston, Cambridge, Chelsea, Concord, Holyoke, Lawrence, Newton, Northampton, Orleans, Somerville, Springfield. And I think if you actually did more research, there's probably more cities and towns in Massachusetts that fall into this category. Great to have you here today. Let's just check our comments. No comments so far. Okay, no problem. Hey, it's okay. You're just soaking in all the knowledge. I get it. It's fine. Yeah, if you want to throw up a comment, you can. So there you have it. The sanctuary city list. And so apparently there is a little drama going on behind the scenes with Governor Healey possibly seeking a meeting with the border czar, Tom Homan. And Kelly Garrity, she's with Politico, right? Yeah, she's with Politico. Is reporting in Politico this morning, if I'm not mistaken, that one of the radio stations, I don't think I understand the way this is written here, but apparently, if I could just say it the simple way possible, I think Maura Healey was looking for a back channel to Homan through former Sheriff Hodgkins. I think that's kind of the way that this story reads. And Wendy Wakeman says, tickle me to imagine a Homan-Healey meeting. But it sounds as if Healey was going through some back channel to arrange this type of meeting, which is kind of weird, because I think if you're a governor of one of the 50 states and you want to meet with Tom Homan, you could just call his office, right? You could just call him, or, have your people call his people and set it up. Why would you need to go through like some back channel of the sheriff? No offense, Sheriff. But why would you need to do that to reach out to Homan, who obviously has a Washington office, and you could just call him right up, or send him an official invitation, or, I think that the intrigue behind what Kelly is reporting here, and what Wendy is eager to see, I think what really is happening here is one of these things, like when you walk past somebody that you don't really want to have lunch with, and you say, hey, we should do lunch. And they say, oh, yeah, let's do lunch. And, of course, neither of you really want to do lunch. This happens at the State House all the time. Instead, you go out with Bobby and Marianne to the to the Golden Dome instead. Nobody wants to do lunch. You don't want to do lunch with them. They don't want to do lunch with you. You're just being political. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. I think that's what's going on. No, but these two people do not want to meet, but neither of them wants to say that they don't want to meet, right? Oh yeah, we want to meet. Oh yeah, sure, I'd do a meeting. Yeah, let's have lunch. And none of them, no, they don't want to have lunch. No. By the way, interesting clip, which very disturbing. This from the Attorney General's office. Here is the Assistant Attorney General. I think that's Allison Slater, speaking at a State House hearing recently. Let's zip this back up here and say, this is what she says here. This is This has no place in Massachusetts, and it's critically important that we shore up protections for transgender youth and the people who love them, Slater said. In other words, she's trying to create kind of, since we're on the topic of sanctuary, kind of creating a sanctuary state for transgender youth. Listen to exactly what she says here. So just kind of stitching these stories together since they're both about sanctuary. This is, again, Allison Slater from the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. Let's hit play.
We need to make sure our courts do not recognize out-of-state findings of abuse and neglect.
We need to make sure that our courts do not recognize out-of-state findings of abuse and neglect. Now, my feeling is that she means relative to transgender youth only, but I really wonder if they can make that distinction. Wouldn't we want to acknowledge if another state, through some type of court proceeding, made a determination of abuse? Wouldn't we want to know that and recognize it?
Against parents because they helped their transgender children access gender-affirming care.
So it seems as if she wants to know any type of abuse and recognize it, except if it's relative to transgender youth.
This has no place in Massachusetts and is critically important that we shore up protections for transgender youth and the people who love them. When the legislature passed the SHIELD law in 2022, it was done so with nearly unanimous support across party lines. We look forward to working with the
Way to go, Republicans.
Legislature again on this bipartisan issue at this critical moment to strengthen the SHIELD law. The Attorney General's office remains committed to protecting Massachusetts residents and ensuring their access to reproductive rights.
Massachusetts residents, they never say citizens. You ever notice that? They never say citizens. It's always residents. While the Massachusetts AG wants the state to become a sanctuary for parents who help their children access irreversible gender change procedure, according to Allison Slater, who works for the AG, as we covered. Massachusetts need to protect parents who are charged in other states for providing gender-affirming care to minors. We need to make sure our courts do not recognize out-of-state findings of abuse and neglect against parents because they help their transgender children access gender-affirming care. You know, once again, gonna tell you, if you're an adult and you want to go do whatever you want to do, as long as your interests don't conflict with mine, you go do you. That's what a tolerant pluralistic society is. Don't ask me to celebrate it, but also, I'm not gonna. If you're an adult, not gonna stop. But if you're like 8 years old, no. And this person here and the Attorney General wants to say yes to that. They want to say yes to that. And by the way, just since we haven't talked about Maura Healey enough today, did you see this ridiculous press conference that she did? This was yesterday, I believe, where she's cutting the red tape. She literally has a shredder and a piece of paper that says red tape. And I love how the Herald gets her with her eyes closed here. Nice job. Who took this photo? Let's give the credit. Nancy Lane. Way to go, Nancy, from the Herald. Healey targets ski area signage rules in business regulation cutting spree. So of all the regulations that Maura wanted to cut, she went through the whole stack of them. And the most important one to cut was the ski slope signage rules. In other words, she didn't want to cut any regulations. And she found a regulation that nobody liked. So she cut the ski slope signage regulations because there's such a clamoring for those. I just had to throw it in as a humor introduction there. Yeah. Like, I guess it's a slippery slope when you have those signage rules. All right. My friend Tom from the Valley Patriot, he has done an exceptional interview with the mayor of Lawrence, which is now up on his YouTube channel. And I am going to post this up on X so that you can watch the entire 40-minute video interview with Lawrence Mayor Brian DePina. However, as I posted yesterday, we do have some brief clips of this interview, and it's remarkable. It is a remarkable interview. Let's pull it up here, and let's take a quick listen here to this interview.
What you thought about the federal government, the feds, ICE coming into Lawrence, rounding up criminals and deporting them. I know you're a lot more conservative than most people in your party, so I thought this would be a good question to start with.
I know the immigrant community, is the preoccupation now is a high level, but I think 99% people the federal government follow is a criminal.
What he just said, let me just translate it, because the mayor is originally from the Dominican. He speaks with what I would describe as a thick accent, although for him, he probably thinks I speak with a thick accent. He said that most of the federal government is looking for criminals.
You see news in some time in different case is somebody the federal ICE looking for somebody and ask you for document. If you don't have, take it. But that's not exactly ICE looking for good people, good person in the community. It's directed to criminal people.
ICE is looking for the criminal people,
and that's good. That's good for community because.
And that's good for the community. This mayor of Lawrence, Dominican-born, I'm pretty sure, mayor of Lawrence, just said that it's good for ICE to be in his community arresting criminals. Take that, you Jamie Eldridge, for instance, right? Or Julian Sear, right? All the white liberals who don't have to live with the consequences of their own policies because they live in wealthy places, Acton, Truro. They don't have to live with the fear of having these criminals in their own neighborhoods. So they say, yeah, whatever. They're very disturbed when the criminals get arrested on Martha's Vineyard, right, Maura? She lives in Arlington, by the way, the last she let us know. Because remember when she moved and she didn't even tell us that she moved? She moved to Arlington. Not a lot of MS-13 in Arlington, is there? Here we are with the mayor of Lawrence, Dominican-born, saying, yes, ICE, come to my city and arrest criminals.
For many years, many people have a crime, have a bad record, and stay in the community. Now,
so you're saying when ICE comes in, they're not just looking for people who are illegal, they're looking for criminals.
Yes.
And you support that?
I support that.
I support that. When ICE comes in, they're looking for criminals, and I support that. I support that. Thank you, Mayor DePina. Thank you, Mayor DePina. We have another clip from the same interview. Shocking. This is a really important story.
How do you feel about your party abandoning the people? Well, let me ask you, how do you feel about the party abandoning you and the people of Lawrence? The majority of people in Lawrence believe the way you do, don't they?
Listen, I think that's the reason President Trump won in the past election.
Wow. I think the reason President Trump won in the last election,
because include many Democrats that support political open borders for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
was because of open borders that the Democrats support.
the immigration in any country, any regulation, never you stop immigration. Somebody jumping
The board.
the ball,
Yeah.
but you need control. The problem is in the last 4 years, the immigration department. Listen, what is his job? What is he compromise to the nation?
Mm-hmm.
And it's impossible to keep bottom open for everybody enter illegal. No?
It's impossible to keep the border open for everyone to enter illegally. This is the Democrat. He's a Democrat, Dominican-born mayor of Lawrence, who says that the reason why Trump won was because of the Democrats' open border policy. Remember, Trump over-indexed in Lawrence and other places as well, including Fall River, which you know he won, but he over-indexed in a number of different places. And Trump also won the popular vote. He won every one of the blue wall states. You know the thing. You know the thing. Going back to the poll from earlier today. The poll from earlier today, if it was a head-to-head, Keneally, Healey, short sleeve Healey, Healey would probably be winning. We all know that. The only way for the Republicans to win in the fall of 2026 in the corner office here in Massachusetts is to expand the electorate, to get voters who are reluctant to vote because they don't believe in either party. And the only way you're going to do that is, and to increase the numbers, is to get a candidate that is kind of a out of the box different. You're not going to beat Maura Healey with a Republican establishment candidate, because that Republican establishment candidate is not going to motivate the reluctant voter pool that is, by the way, massive. It's a massive voter pool that is out there that literally this mayor here represents. I'm not saying he voted for Trump. He probably voted for Harris because he's a Democrat. But we know that there's a massive pool of voters, many of whom don't even show up in polling numbers at all. But if those voters went out and voted for the Republican nominee, that would totally reframe the electorate and change the result of the November 2026 election. But they're not going to go out and vote for an establishment Republican candidate. Let's remember that Trump, even though visually with the blue suit and the red tie, he does look very establishment-y. Trump basically put that campaign over the edge by doing two things that kind of broke the mold of the establishment candidate. And one, playing against type, one, he went to McDonald's, right? Worked the drive-through at McDonald's. And two, he got in the garbage truck. Those were the two things that kind of put him over the edge in 2024. But even going back to 2016, Trump is, there's a word for it, he's a one of a kind, we'll just say it. He is in a category all himself. And so, yes, you look at those New Hampshire polling numbers, and it's quite clear that Trump himself is not very popular in Massachusetts. That is crystal clear. Trump's not popular here in Massachusetts. That's crystal clear. But his policies might be. Up next, I'm not going to get too deep into this story here, but John Hurst, the widely respected guy from the Retailers Association of Massachusetts, is putting up this warning last night. And I got to admit, John, who I probably haven't seen since like the 90s or something like that when I used to work at the State House back in the olden days. I don't think I understand the details of this tweet or post, but I'm going to cover it because I respect you and what you're saying here. And it seemed alarming to me. John Hurst from the Retailers Association of Massachusetts says Massachusetts healthcare approach has been to spend more money for more sources, whether tax money, premium money, consumer out-of-pocket money, as opposed to pressing for lower costs from providers and pharma. Incredibly inflationary and damaging to premium payers. That would be you and me. Taxpayers, that's also you and me. And the economy. Time to say no to more money for these providers, many of which pay no taxes themselves. So basically, John is saying, and there's a further post here somewhere, that the new premiums that have just been announced, and I'm losing it here in the feed, are far ahead of the benchmark. I think 3.6% premiums that were expected. They're double digits. So if you're expecting your healthcare premiums to go down, according to the data that was released, I think yesterday, 2026 health insurance rates, they're not going down, nor are they going to be anywhere near the benchmark numbers. They're going to be a lot higher, which gets us back to the original thing that we're talking about relative to the poll. The number one issue in Massachusetts is the cost of living, housing, and the cost of living. Those healthcare, huge factor in that. By the way, I do have the guy that's running against Markey, Alex Rickleen. Is that who he is here? Looks like a BC guy. I have no idea. But apparently he's running to the left of Markey. But yeah, he's not going to win. But yeah, not going to win. The only chance of bumping Markey off in the primary is going to be like a congressman, someone with a big war chest. Let's see here. We have one comment. Oh, well, thank you, Brad. Brad Wyatt, chime in. Great work with your show. Love the video and still image clips. Nice presentation and insight. Well, very nice of you, Brad. Well, thank you very much, Brad. You have a great weekend as well. I hope all of you do. I missed being with you, but it was good to take a week off. Which was well deserved. I'll pat myself in the back. In the meantime, we'll see you again next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you, Brad.